Let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously transformative concept from Katherine May's brilliant book, Wintering. If you've ever felt completely depleted and want to know how to navigate life's inevitable rough patches with some grace, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to look at this quiet philosophy on how to survive and actually heal physically and mentally through our deepest, darkest, fallow seasons.
Seriously, what actually happens when you were just forced to stop? I want you to really think about that for a second. It could be a sudden wave of grief, a painful breakup, an unexpected physical illness, or maybe just that slow, creeping burnout that leaves you completely empty. When life suddenly grinds to a halt, our first instinct is usually pure panic, right? Or just intense resistance. Okay, let's dive into this and look at why our modern reaction to hitting the brakes is so incredibly flawed, and how we can change it.
Section 1. The Myth of Endless Summer, and Why Life is Cyclical.
So, there's this massive friction happening right now. Our modern society has this baseline expectation of constant productivity. It's like this idea of an endless summer, right? Perpetual growth. We're expected to just keep blooming, always on, always producing. But nature tells a totally different story. Nature is cyclical. It strictly requires seasons and fallow periods just to replenish. Think about it. Trees literally have to drop their leaves to conserve energy for the freezing cold. Animals hibernate. Soil has to lie completely fallow just to build its nutrients back up so it can grow crops again. And guess what? Human life works the exact same way. We move in seasons. These fallow periods where you pull back, they aren't wasted time. They're absolutely biologically and psychologically essential for our long-term survival.
Section 2. Defining the wintering state.
So what exactly is wintering? To really grasp this, we need to look at what sparked Katherine May's discoveries. And spoiler alert, she didn't just come up with this theory while relaxing on a sunny beach. She was cold sidetracked by a rapid succession of really intense hardships. Her husband got critically ill with a sudden appendicitis complication. Right around the exact same time, her young son developed severe anxiety and had to drop out of mainstream school. And May herself? She suffered from this severe, undiagnosed stomach illness and chronic burnout that basically forced her to leave her very demanding academic job. Life slammed on the brakes. And what she realized is that if the mind refuses to willingly take a winter, like if we just try to power through everything, our bodies are going to eventually step in and physically force one on us.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely reframes our emotional state. The quote says, "Wintering is the active acceptance of sadness. It is the practice of allowing ourselves to feel it as a need." We usually treat sadness or exhaustion like an error message on a computer, right? Like something to be fixed immediately or pushed down so we can just get back to work. But May argues we need to lean into it. Sadness is an active need. We really shouldn't just grit our teeth and power through exhaustion.
Because unhappiness actually has a profound function. It tells us that something is going wrong. It's so simple, yet completely brilliant. If we don't allow ourselves the fundamental honesty of feeling our own sadness, we miss those vital internal cues. Cues that signal it is time to adapt our lives to protect our physical and mental health. Think of it like a check engine light on your car. If you ignore it, the engine eventually explodes, right? Unhappiness is our check engine light.
Section 3. Preparing for life's frost.
If wintering is completely natural and inevitable, we've got to radically shift our focus. Instead of acting completely shocked every single time the emotional temperature drops, we need to prepare. There's this incredible Finnish concept called talvitilat. It refers to the deliberate, early preparations people make for winter, long before the first frost actually hits. So, the crucial point is, we need this exact same level of preparation for our emotional lives just as much as we do for our physical environments. No more getting caught off guard.
Here is exactly how that plays out in reality. First, you have to acknowledge the cold is coming. You literally cannot prevent winter, whether it's meteorological or emotional. It's happening. Second, you prepare the physical environment. In places like Finland, this means stacking wood, checking roof tiles, bringing out the heavy winter clothes. Finally, you apply this same early preparation to your emotional life. By acknowledging that tough times are just a normal part of the human cycle, we can get our emotional, heavy clothes ready. We arrange our support systems, we start pulling back on extra commitments, and we build a cozy, safe space for ourselves mentally well before that frost bites deep.
Section 4. Rituals for physical healing and finding solace in the cold.
Let's get into some real, practical applications here. To heal physically and mentally, May explored natural rituals designed specifically to honor the cold and darkness rather than hide from it. And there are some fascinating ways people use their physical environments to heal. Take cold water sea swimming, for example.
Plunging into freezing water gives you this shocking clarity that literally resets your nervous system. Then there are solstice celebrations, like visiting Stonehenge in the dead of winter. It physically marks the turning point of light, reminding our brains that, hey, the darkness is always temporary. And third, this one is just wonderful, returning to medieval sleep patterns. This means reclaiming first and second sleep, waking up for an hour or two in the middle of the night. But instead of lying there panicking about insomnia, you use that quiet, peaceful space for deep reflection. These physical actions tangibly support our mental health by forcing our bodies to sync up with the slow, dark rhythm of the season.
Section 5. Adapting, not just fixing.
This brings us to the climax of this explainer, where we totally redefine what it actually means to heal. And this brilliantly illustrates the core message. Healing doesn't mean returning to exactly who you were before. Just let that sink in for a second. It's kind of like a broken bowl repaired with gold. The cracks become part of your new strength. We so often think of illness or burnout as a temporary detour, and we just assume healing means getting back on the main road as the exact same person we were before the crisis. But you know what? That's not how nature works, and it's definitely not how human biology works.
True wintering requires entirely new parameters. It's an active tool to adapt. It's all about learning to live well within those new boundaries. You have to give yourself the radical permission to rest and just pull back from the world's endless demands. And most importantly, you must allow the Philo season to actually transform you. Look, if you are deeply exhausted right now, your exhaustion is incredibly valid. Wintering isn't you failing, it is you adapting. You are living within your new reality, actively allowing your nervous system and your mind the time they need to knit themselves back together into an entirely new shape.
So I'll leave you with this. Instead of fighting the cold, how will you let your next winter transform you? Really think about how you approach your own fallow seasons. They absolutely are not punishments. They are biologically and psychologically essential periods of retreat. By acknowledging the cold, leaning into that necessary rest, and engaging in physical rituals that ground us, we don't just miraculously survive the winter. We emerge from it entirely renewed, adapted, and ready for whatever season comes next. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gives you the tools to find deep physical and mental healing the next time you find yourself in a fallow season. Catch you next time.